At least you're not getting wet out there right now.
Nah, it's just spitting.
Yeah.
And if we're not sitting in the rockers, we're sitting in the Adirondacks, so or on the swing. I have multiple choices.
Very nice. I'm just sitting in an office chair right now, so nothing exciting over here.
Hello, Rachel.
Hey, Bill.
I figured it out.
And we'll be waiting a few more minutes. We've got people still dialing in here.
Where's that party at?
It's Winston watching his show.
And Zip, you want to start at about 5 after again?
Fine.
Okay. And then just let me know if you see people trying to get in that we need to give them some extra time.
Okay.
I'm happy about this short lull in the rain that we've got right now. A little bit less background noise on my end, so.
I'm ready for the 80 degrees again.
Are you ready for the 90 degrees though?
And not for 90, but 80 something be fine.
Yep, the rain's headed your way because it's starting here again.
Hey, Mark and Chuck.
Did you call me?
I said hello.
Oh, hey, bud, how you doing? I had the thing muted. I was talking to you. Didn't get a response.
I guess I should say hello, everyone, because I see Jim's on there now and Chad and everybody else.
Sounds like there's an earthquake going on that he was talking about yesterday.
I guess we'll wait another minute. It's about 4 minutes after. We'll give it another minute.
Sounds good. I know, hard for a lot of people with everything that trying to juggle. A lot of people still working from home too and stuff. So, and I'll just kind of get started with some housekeeping notes. If you could mute yourself when you're not talking, but please do feel free to unmute, speak up, interrupt. That's fine. We'll try to keep an eye on the participant menu so that we can see when you unmute and allow you to talk. But if you need to interrupt, go ahead. There is a chat feature. Feel free to use the chat feature to ask any questions, know anything. When you're using the chat, just make sure you're sending it to everyone. If you send it to the City of Belmont, I won't be able to see those chat items. So I'm not sure if anyone's monitoring those ones. So just send to everyone in there. Hopefully you are all able to see my screen. If you're not, speak up, let me know, and we can resolve that if needed. And I think, Zip, if you haven't heard from anyone else who's trying to get in, we can go ahead and get started.
I guess go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Rachel Nilsson. I'm with CPL. We're an architecture engineering firm working as a consultant to the City of Belmont. With me today, I have Danielle Cesny and Bill Moser. And then also John Wood, who is with Alfred Benish and Company. He's a landscape architect. And they'll be working through the civil landscape component of this project. And he'll be talking a little bit more about that later on. So this is our third focus group session for the Community Recreation Center for the City of Belmont. And we are doing these sessions because we want your input. We understand that this recreation center, community center, has come up in a number of previous master planning efforts, comprehensive plan efforts, and this is just the next step of that. We want to get a little bit more in detail about what specifically you want in this facility, and as we start to move next into the design of this. There has been a survey that was posted for anyone to participate in. I hope you've all had a chance to take that survey. The link is above, and then we can also send that out. It should also be posted on the city's Facebook page as well. Like I mentioned, we're doing these focus group sessions. This is our third of 3 sessions. We've met with athletics and instructors. We've met with local civic community service groups, some nonprofits, and then this group, which consists of a variety of different attendees. And then if there is anything else that we don't touch on here that you want us to explore more in depth, please do feel free to email us your thoughts. You can send those over to Zip, and Zip will forward those to us as needed, and so that we can incorporate those as we move forward. So today's session is going to be a little bit interactive. hopefully it. So we'll be using this a live polling software program called Poll Everywhere. And and there are two ways to jump on this. You can either use a web browser or a browser, internet browser on your phone and respond that way. And you could go to pollev.com/RachelN563, or you can text your response there. So I know we've got at least one person who's replied to this. So I'll give you a few minutes. There'll be a few other questions. So if you want to pull up that response program, and then we'll move forward. And like I mentioned, if you don't have the survey, that's great that you've responded. If you don't have the survey, please reach out if you need a copy of that or if you need to know where that's located. But please take a chance to take it. It should only take you about 5 minutes, maybe less. And then also please send that out to friends and family and everyone else, because we'd like to get the maximum responses we can to get the best input that we can for moving forward. All right. And our next question today is, what organization are you representing? You know, we've got a variety of different groups on the line and a variety of different people that were invited to this session. City Council, great. Public Works, Stormwater, awesome. Utilities. City Council. All right. And I believe you have opportunities to respond to these questions after I move on. But if for any reason you need to respond and I've moved on to the next slide, you can also send information in the chat. Where? So this project is anticipated to be at around 1401 Catawba Street, at that blue rectangle right next to the Public Works building, right across the street from Kevin Lofton Riverfront Park, and at a true kind of entry point to the city, especially for those coming from Wilkinson, down to Catawba into downtown. So this location really becomes a center point of connection for a number of different recreation opportunities. So the blue line is a proposed greenway. And then, so we understand that we'll need to be connecting with this site. It'll need to be connecting to that future greenway across to Kevin Lofton. Proposed dog park would be located at 12th and Catawba. So that connection as well. For a program for this facility, we understand it'll have fitness and athletic component, but also true community center becomes a community heart. It allows for community spaces, gathering spaces, and education spaces that can be used for a variety of different purposes. Which type of spaces are you most excited for in a new community recreation center? A is the education, B is the community, and then C is the fitness and athletics. A little bit of everything so far. And our challenge with a facility like this is being able to provide as much flexibility as possible with the spaces that we're providing, so that these types of spaces can double as both a community space and an education space and a fitness space and a community space. And you'll see a little bit more as we move forward. Fitness and athletic spaces generally will center around fitness studios, locker rooms, other support facilities like that, walking track, and gymnasium spaces. From the perspective of athletes and fitness participants, are there any priorities? What's your biggest priority? In just a few words, what's your biggest priority for those athletes and fitness participants? As we were talking to some of the groups yesterday, from an athlete perspective and a tournament perspective, having maybe a training space or some type of wellness space is really important. That allows for injured athletes to team up. Maybe there's a partnership with a local hospital or athletic trainer. Great. So yeah, weight room machines, wellness training space for the community. Yeah. And one of our challenges here that we've been talking with Zip about is making sure that we are kind of partnering in a sense with the local YMCA, so that we aren't providing the exact same services in the same way that they are, so that we're complementary to what they're doing. Give it a couple more, another few seconds if anyone else wants to reply there. Team sports, yeah. And that's a great point from the athlete perspective and from maybe like a tournament perspective. The addition of team rooms where on a tournament day, different teams could rent out a team room facility or team room space. That's the point that they're going to between all of their different games. Indoor walking, jogging track, yeah, that's a very hot button issue that's come up a number of times. And you'll see that that ranks pretty high on the survey results that we've gotten thus far. And then from the perspective of families and parents and visitors, what are the priorities for them? So at a lot of tournaments or even on any weekend events, you may have families may have one child who's coming and participating in a sport, and then the other child just has to tag along. So is spaces for the parents, for things for them to do, or for siblings for them to do during these types of events, is that important to dedicate spaces for them? Concessions is a big one. Concessions is a really big revenue generator for Parks and Recreation. And maybe part of that is the programming of that space, allowing for parts maybe of concessions to be open longer than just on tournament days. So if you have somebody coming in for an evening fitness class, that they can grab a quick snack or drink directly after. We'll give that a few seconds. Childcare supervision, yeah, and a kids' play room has come up a few times, as well as the potential need for space for summer camp. So that can double as that. Adequate parking space, kids' play area. Yeah, on the parking, one of our challenges will certainly be on that parking component and ensuring that, especially with the connections that we're making with the future Greenway and with Kevin Lofton, that we're providing for enough parking, not just for what we're building here, but for increased use of those other local recreation areas. In terms of the education component, education spaces can be art and drama classrooms, cooking, nutrition classrooms, kid play areas, which we've talked about a little bit, and media lab, esports. So some type of computer lab that allows maybe a dedicated space for teens. Maybe it allows for classes for seniors in different computer activities, different training. and maybe it allows for kind of extension programs or partnerships with other organizations like TechWorks or things like that. Community spaces, we are looking at the possibility of a stage. So using, in this picture you see here, that this is a recreation facility in Mebane that is using their stage in conjunction with the gym space for a martial arts event. So it allows for opportunities, greater opportunities for use of those gym spaces outside of just fitness programs. Meeting rooms in general that can be used for a multitude of purposes for local community organizations as well as maker spaces. Gallery space, lobby, so a large lobby maybe that has opportunity for art to be presented. And then kitchen, which not only can be used for cooking and nutrition classes, but also as a catering kitchen to those multi-purpose meeting rooms or to the larger gymnasium space. So thinking in terms of your organization in particular, how can this facility benefit or complement you? So are there spaces that you wish you had in the local area, in the Belmont area or Gaston County, that you have not been able to find and you would like could be located here, whether that's meeting spaces or anything else? Or is there any kind of outreach programs that can be held here that would also benefit? Senior meeting space, yeah. And we've talked before about opportunities for, and that type of senior meeting space can either be a dedicated space or a flexible space where you can allow for game nights, game days of different types of game events, larger community events and meetings. Yeah, we've heard too before that there's not a lot of space in Gaston County as a whole for events, larger events, for fundraising events of 500 plus people and stuff. So a gymnasium space is perfect because you're already providing that space. There's just a few other things we have to keep in mind for that. Associated reception hall for wedding at the park. That's nice. Yeah, I mean, Kevin Lofton would be a great spot to have a nice small wedding and then to be able to come right across the street and host a reception right there as well and have all the parking available. So I see on here lots of meeting spaces, which is great because it leads right into my next question. As an organization, what size meeting spaces are most important to you? We've got a few different groupings. So we talked a little bit about those kind of larger events, fundraising events, but then there's also the ability to maybe have a couple of smaller spaces that are able to open up into one larger space. So that on a smaller scale, they're hosting 15 to 20. On a larger scale, they're hosting 40 to 50. So great. Lots of different sizes. And then is there a space that has not been mentioned or discussed that you think would make this recreation center successful? This is probably the hardest question I'm going to ask you, so it's okay. And again, just want to remind you, you are welcome to unmute and talk as well. Cool. Yeah. Creative art or innovation room. Great. And we'll talk a little bit later, but we are looking at a possible phase 2 or at least kind of master planning into this area, the addition of a splash pad either at this site or across the street. So that would maybe tie into the pool, racquetball court. Yep. Indoor, right? Yeah. And then creative art or innovation room. Great. And that can be those types of classroom spaces, maker spaces, but it's important that we provide enough flexibility for those. One thing we saw come up a lot on the survey was, and on a previous call, was indoor rowing. Big group there that's really strong on the pushing the indoor rowing. And so whether that whether that's a dedicated space or a larger fitness space that can provide for that, and then has enough storage to be able to roll the indoor rowers away, the ergs away. That's definitely something we'll be exploring. John, you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Rachel. Good afternoon again, everybody. Just to reintroduce myself, I'm John Wood. I'm a landscape architect with Benish here in Charlotte. And our charge as part of the CPL team is to not only provide the civil engineering, landscape architecture for the space, but to figure out how this center will fit in amongst the public works facility and relate to Catawba Street and the future Greenway, Kevin Lofton Park, the riverfront, as well as once we've got a lot of, Rachel's been talking all about the things that might go on inside the building. And we'll also take a look at, besides the need for shared parking, what might happen outside the building. So we've, some of the images here, we just briefly talked here about a spray ground or splash pad that's in a proposed phase 2 that I think right now is targeted for Kevin Lofton Park. But there are probably some criteria or elements that might lend it to make sense to be located with the center. So that's one of the things to consider. There's been talks about having a large group space where we might have a fire pit or a shelter for activities. The ability to bring food trucks in and do food truck rallies, particularly related to sharing something with the park as well. Offering up public art that can take a couple different forms. It could be something very functional, either on the ground as a some type of a gaming or fitness component, or as we show in this image, a sensory wall like they have at LeBauer Park up in Greensboro. It could be a mural on the side of the building, or something that could change over time, or just add some color and just help kind of brighten up the space. Community gardens have been talked about as an option, something that might play off the learning kitchen that could be located inside the center. As another way to gather families and particularly young folks together and have them learn where things grow. Outdoor fitness. Image here from the Marion Deal Center here in Charlotte shows more of a fitness cluster, much like you would find out at in Craberton on Goat Island if you've been out to that fitness equipment area. It can also be equipment that's located along a walking path or trail. So these are just some of the items that have been discussed that might come up. And in the next slide, we're going to give you an opportunity to vote for your preference of those items. And then we'll have another slide after that if there's something we didn't talk about. All good things. The spray ground is often an option nowadays for communities that either don't want to have a full pool system in play, or you've already got a YMCA in town and we've got pools in the area. But so spray grounds are good alternatives.
And more cost effective and easier to maintain generally too.
Typically. We canceled out of public art. Now we're back in. We can also make public art part of a spray ground. We've done that before. So as we've talked throughout this presentation here, we've talked about the connection that this center affords the area with potential with the greenway coming in just north of the Public Works facility, dog park that'll be constructed at the other end of the block, and just the whole connection with the river and the riverfront park. Are there elements of this center that you feel could create more connection with the riverfront park that we haven't mentioned? Or if you want to jump on and just reiterate something, that would be great as well.
We understand too from Belmont that there are plans for a future another kind of water connection. What was it, about a half mile down the road, Zip?
Yeah, it's about a half mile down the road. Couldn't find a mouse.
Okay. About a 13-acre park with some more opportunities for water access there too. So there's definitely this area is becoming a little bit of a recreation corridor as well.
Yeah, and a part of our charge will also to have discussions with NCDOT to look at ways we can cross Catawba and make that the park an extension of the recreation center, and vice versa, the center an extension of the park.
Yeah, definitely. Getting
Safety being the key word there, particularly at rush hour times, which is usually the same time that your community center will be its busiest.
And the has come up as well. So I believe I understand from Zip that Kevin Lofton does do some kayak rentals, but the ability to tie back in with the rec center as well. And also the parking we know is limited at Riverfront Park. So so are we like is the rec center more of a catch-all kind of parking area for that too? Yep, kayak too. Anything else, John?
No, I think that that covers it. We'll obviously have more to follow up with as this process moves along.
Yeah, great idea on the public art to kind of link the two, and maybe that comes in the way of some sort of pedestrian bridge also. Just wanted to show you a quick snapshot of the survey results, and this is as of last Friday. So kind of our top 5 spaces that people wanted to see are the court spaces, fitness studios, walking track, kids play area, and community meeting spaces, all things that we've talked about here today too. In terms of programs and activities, the top 5 being the cooking, nutrition classes, fitness and dance classes, art classes, open gym time, and concert space. So the stage can really play a component in that. Or also those concerts, we can look at kind of an outdoor area as well. Yeah. For outdoor spaces, the top 3 vote getters were the splash pad, food truck parking, and outdoor exercise areas. And then in terms of just general elements that were important to people, the activities and programs that were offered being the top one, but closely after safety and security in well-lit areas. So and these days, safety and security means more than just protection from traffic or crime, but also health safety. So understanding as we are in a current pandemic and we want to prepare for anything upcoming, that we're providing for security for people in terms of their health concerns as well. There were a few write-ins on some different programs that we didn't mention. The top ones that got a number of notes being the indoor rowing came up a lot. Sand volleyball courts came up a few times as well. And then some sort of acoustic studio area for recording, maybe part of the media lab where somebody could come in, maybe whether it's a small business or whether it's just students learning how to do new programs. It's an educational tool. And so that would be something that we would want to probably speak with TechWorks about. Is that something that they can maybe assist with, and maybe there's a partnership that can happen on that end as well. And then lastly, do you have any other feedback for us? Is there anything else that besides maybe other spaces that we haven't talked about, maybe other components of this project that would help this make more, that help make this more successful for the city of Belmont, for the community? And also, if you want us to follow up, if you've got something that needs some maybe more follow-up, feel free to include your email address, or you can send it in the chat or email it to Zip, and we'll reach back out to you for any other detailed follow-up. And I was talking to Bill yesterday as you're kind of doing this, and he mentioned, wow, what a great idea it would be to have some sort of rooftop area, especially because we know we probably have some sort of second floor component with a walking track, to be able to have a great view of the river, and you could maybe host some events out there. So if we're talking, that'd be a nice spot for a really small wedding reception also. But even anything like that, you may think doesn't even relate to recreation. Yes, always important. So far, we are on schedule and within budget. So. Zip, is there anything else that you'd like to add about the process or the project at all too?
No, well.
And
Got any comments?
Yeah, this is Jim Heffern. I'm a city councilman, and I just want to say I appreciate you all's efforts. I was at the meeting where you presented to the recreation board, and I thought you all had the best offer. I just wish, you know, I know you all had such good ideas about participation, like community participation and focus groups, and I know it's a challenge to do that in these circumstances. So I just appreciate what you are doing.
yeah, thanks. We've actually had really good, these sessions have been really good. My only wish is that we've had maybe more people at these sessions, but we've gotten some great feedback and great feedback on the survey as well. So if you want to encourage more people to take that survey too, we'll have that open through Friday. And then we're going to be wrapping everything up so we can move into kind of programming and design.
What's our count right now, Rachel, of folks that have taken the survey?
As of last Friday, we were at 117.
Okay.
I have not checked it yet this week.
Well, the rain finally caught up with us. It's raining hard here.
I sent it over your way, Zip.
Yeah, and we are looking at at starting to get a construction manager on board shortly, so that we are kind of moving forward with this process quickly. Well, I want to thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. We're happy to have any input that you have. So again, if you have anything else that you'd like to share with us, feel free to send them our way. Send an email to Zip and he'll make sure that it gets out to the design team as well. And again, take the survey if you haven't already. So thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, thank you and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you all.